Greetings gastronauts, this is KeefCooks, I'm Keef, and today I'm going to show you how to make a traditional enriched bread known as Lardy cake. Some shout outs before we start. I've got a couple of new Patreon fans, Jed Burnell and Matthew Shakespeare. Hi guys, and thank you. And also for Mike Whitcomb, who actually requested it a couple of months ago. So I hope you enjoy it, Mike. Lardy cake goes by a number of different names, which include lardy bread, dough cake, Lardy Johns. I've never heard it called that. And Forza's cake, which also I've never heard of, but apparently that's what they call it in Norfolk and Suffolk. And you know, we have 11s, well they have Forzas at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and this is the cake for that. With a nice cup of tea, I expect. So you're probably thinking that a cake that contains quite a lot of lard is going to be a terribly unhealthy thing. And it probably is, but it's not as bad as you think. Lard actually contains less saturated fat than butter. So yeah, and it's got fruit in it, so really, it's quite healthy. Anyway, enough wittering, let's do it. Now, ingredients for the lardy cake. I've got 450 grams of strong white bread flour, 300 ml of water, a teaspoon of salt, 1.5 teaspoons of active dried yeast, and a lump of lard about that size. So, and that's all for the bread dough. And then for the kind of filling, we've got 200 grams of sugar, 150 grams of lard, 175 grams of sultanas and currants, about equal quantities, and a teaspoon of cinnamon and a teaspoon of nutmeg. Now, lard, can you substitute butter? I don't think so. I think the clue's in the name, Lardy cake. So if you can't get lard, sorry about that, but you can actually make it yourself, you know, get a load of pig fat and render it down on very, very low heat. You end up with lard. Yeah. Anyway, this is basically a bread, so the dough needs time to rise, so I'd better get it made and proving. So you can mix your dough by hand, which I always have done, until I got this beautiful thing for Christmas. Right, so I've got the flour in that bowl. I'm going to add a teaspoon of salt, 1.5 teaspoons of yeast, and that lump of lard, which I've just chopped into little bits. So I've got the dough hook on the mixer, and we put it on number 2. Just give that a quick mix and then start to pour in the water. And just let that chug away for a couple of minutes. 2 minutes should do it, which is like the equivalent of 10 minutes of kneading by hand. And what you're looking for is a smooth dough. It will be very, very sticky, so yeah. Right, it's had well, about 5 minutes, and yeah, it's, well, I said it would be sticky and runny. It's the first time I've done it using the mixer. I'm tempted to give that a bit of a knead by hand, but I'm also tempted to not, so I think I won't. I'll just transfer that into this bowl, and I'll cover it in plastic film and leave it in a warm place to rise until it's doubled in volume, which will take an hour or 2. Okay, look at that. That is that's what you call risen. Right, I'm going to deal with these things. I'm going to put the sugar in a bigger bowl and mix in the spices. And I don't think I told you about this little orange, but we need its zest. So we just mix these together. Oh, I wish I had a mixer. Get a ton of flour on your worktop, because we're going to spread out this dough and it is going to stick like a sticky thing. I know this because this is version 3. And also I know from my previous efforts that this cake tin actually leaks, so I've kind of lined it with aluminium foil, and I hope that will stop it leaking. You can also use a loaf tin if you like, but so just spread your dough out into a kind of big circle-ish kind of thing that's, you know, quite a bit bigger than the tin. And now get your lard, and you want to smear the base of the tin with lard. And it's a good idea to have your lard softened, just, you know, keep it near a radiator, or, you know, wherever you've got your dough rising. Okay, that'll do. And I've got an awful suspicion I'm going to end up with bits of aluminium foil embedded into the top of my lardy cake, or the bottom. It's actually a thing that's done upside down, so the bottom becomes the top. So yeah, anyway, right, and then just sprinkle sugar and spice mix onto that. Now we need to lardify the dough, so just squeeze it thin, spread it all over the middle, but leave, you know, a couple of centimetres, about an inch margin around the edge. I just had a thought, it might have been better to, you know, chill the lard and just roll it into thin sheets, but we're not doing version 4 just yet. Anyway, sprinkle on the remaining sugar and spice, and all things nice, and your sultanas and currants as well. Okay, now the slightly tricksy bit is to enclose the lard and the sugar and the fruit in the dough. Actually, that wasn't the tricky bit. This is the tricky bit, is to get it in there without wrecking it. Okay, there we go. Alright. It's not beautiful yet. It will be. I know, I've done loads of these. And so cover that in a clean tea towel and just leave it for about half an hour in the warm place to puff up a bit. Now you want to get your oven preheating to 180 degrees Celsius if it's a fan oven, convection oven, or 200 degrees Celsius if it isn't. And here's my dough, risen up a bit, and I'm just going to glaze it with egg wash. This is just an egg beaten up with a bit of milk, and this goes in the oven for 30 minutes. Ooh-wee. Boom. Hey, that looks pretty good to me. So now, oh, I don't think it's leaked. Didn't leak. So now what we need to do is whack a plate on top and turn it upside down. And just leave it in the tin to cool down for about 15 minutes. And then we can open it up and see what we got. Okay, let's unveil our masterpiece. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, okay. Right, it's possibly, yeah, the aluminium foil wasn't probably the greatest thing to do, but never mind. So I was concerned about the foil, and rightly so. There's little bits of it stuck all over the thing. So that was a deeply stupid idea. Don't try that yourself, honestly. Anyway, apart from that, looks like a pretty good chunk of lardy cake. Right, lardy cake, taste test. Come and be force-fed even more lardy cake, babe. Here it is. Oh, sorry. Mrs. KeefCooks. Plate would have been good, wouldn't it? I'll just rip a bit off.
Well, you said it's supposed to be like halfway between cake and bread.
It's bread. There you go.
Oh yeah. Excuse me. Waste not, want not. Still warm. So he made the first lardy cake, and it didn't look right. So I tasted it, and it's flaming marvellous. So I had lardy cake for tea.
Lardy cake.
Lardy cake for tea last night. And for breakfast this morning. I can always make more.
I never want to see another one. No, I do really. They're fabulous. Aren't they?
Yeah, really nice. If you can make it with the orange peel, like you did the first one, the orange peel's really nice.
Well, yeah. Dried fruit. Candied peel. Bye. And that's that. I hope you enjoyed it. Now please do the usual: likes, shares, comments, subscriptions, donations, patronage, all that good stuff. Or just some of it. And thank you for watching, and see you next time.